Okay. The other important factor is so okay. So we are discussing the timer circuits of 805 microcontroller. We'll continue with that discussion. Yes, and second. Here we go. Okay. So we discussed mode 1 operation. So we saw different programming examples also. Timer programming. Okay, so we saw different methods of generating the delay using the timer hardware of the microcontroller and using the delay subroutine. Okay, so we saw those two cases, those two examples. Okay. Yeah. So next is okay to generate the delay. That's fine. So we saw this. Okay. Okay. Delay. We discussed how to generate a larger delay larger than 71.1 millisecond delay. That is the maximum delay generated using the um, you know timer in mode 1 operation. Okay, so that also we saw in the last class. So we saw that program here. Okay, how to generate delay bigger than the 71.1 millisecond delay. So in this case, in this program, last class we discussed how to generate a square pulse, or not square, sorry, rectangular pulse, where on period will be different from the off period. Okay? So duty cycle is greater than 50%. Okay, or the other possibilities, on period is smaller than the off period. Okay, so where duty cycle is less than 50%. That also we saw. Okay, so that also we saw in the. Yes, I don't remember whether I run the program in the last class. And did we get the output? I don't remember now. I think we got the output, no? We got the. Um, yes, sir, we got the output, correct. This we discussed, okay? Yes, next is mode 2 operation of the timer. Of course, we discussed mode operation, but in terms of programming, we have to discuss mode 2 operation. So what are the various steps involved in mode 2 operation, okay? So this is the basic arrangement for the mode 2 operation. Crystal oscillator frequency, it is 11.0592 megahertz, 92 megahertz. Okay, this will be divided by 12. It gives 921.6 kilohertz. 921.6 kilohertz. There is output of the output. There is a resultant frequency of the clock pulse after dividing oscillatory frequency by 12. This is the timer run bit. For timer 0, it is TR0 in TCON register. For timer 1, it is TR1 in TCON register. Timer control bit, timer control register. Okay, what is mode 2? Yes, in mode 2 operation stands for 8-bit auto reload mode. 8-bit auto reload mode. Auto reload mode. Okay. So what is 8-bit auto reload mode? Okay. So initial count, whatever is required, is first loaded into the upper byte of the timer. Upper byte is, for example, if you use make use of timer 0, upper byte is TH0. If you make use of timer 1, upper byte is TH1. It's very easy to remember, TH0 or TH1. Okay, so initial count is loaded to TH0 or TH1 depending on the timer we are making use of. Okay, so initial value can be 0 0, or it can be anywhere. The value is from 0 0 to FFH. So the value can be anywhere between 0 0 to FFH. So initial value is loaded to the upper bit of the timer. When the timer is started, what is the microcontroller does is it will copy the uh, just a second, somebody is on the line. Okay, so it will copy the content of the, you know, it will copy the content of upper byte of the timer to the lower byte of the timer, and the lower byte of the timer starts counting the clock pulse. For example, let us take one simple example. Let us say initial count is, for example, if it is, I'll take one example, this 2BH, for example, 2BH. Okay, so 2BH is first loaded into the upper bit of the timer. Okay, and when the timer is started, this value is copied into the lower byte. The lower byte starts counting the clock pulse from this initial count. Initial count. Okay, so on the application of clock pulse, the count becomes 2CH. Next clock pulse 2DH. Like this, it continues till it reaches FFH, because for 8-bit timer maximum count is FFH. And the application of next clock pulse, timer resets in all other mode of operation, mode 0 or mode 1 operation, timer will reset to 0 0. But in this case, timer will not reset to 0, but instead it will reset back to initial count of some value. In our case, it is 2BH, which will be copied from the upper byte of the timer to lower byte of the timer whenever the lower byte of the timer overflows from FFH. Okay, whenever it overflows from FFH. Okay. So this, see, it will never reach 0 0. If 0 0 is not the initial count, if 0 0 itself is initial count, the timer will overflow to will reset back to 0 0. But if it is something else other than 0 0, it will reset to that value instead of going to 0 0 whenever the timer overflows. And this condition will set the flag to 1. For example, if we are using the timer 0, TF0 flag will be set to 1. If we are using timer 1, TF flag will be set to 1. Okay, that indicates timer has overflow. Okay, overflow condition. Okay, this is very simple. This is the mode 2 operation of the timer. So let us look into the steps. What we discussed now. So the same thing. No, yeah. No, steps or operations characteristics of the mode 2 operation. It's a 8-bit timer. So it allows maximum value of 0 0 to FF. That means the count will go from 0 0 to, just a second, guys. Yeah, 0 0 to FFH. So 0 0 to FFH. So maximum count we can count using mode 2 operation is only 256, because it is only 8-bit timer. 256 value. Okay, 256 count. We can count maximum of 256 clock pulses. Okay, so it allows values from 0 0 to FF to be loaded in the timer register. Okay, upper bit of the timer. Okay, initial value can be anywhere between 0 0 to FF. It can be FF also. Why? Because even if the initial count is FF and the application of next clock pulse, timer will reset back to FF. Why? Because FF itself is a initial count. That's how it is. Okay, yeah. Just a second. Hold on a second. I'm getting a call. I'm sorry for this. Just Guys, please hold on for 2 more minutes, guys. Please. Yes. Oh, guys. Okay. Sorry, I had a call from actually. Okay. Yeah. Guys, let's continue. Guys. Okay. So mode to operation. We are discussing about. Okay. So the initial value can also be. Did I turn on the microphone? Do you know? Okay, yeah. So initial value can be FFH also, because if see, if it starts from FFH, is no problem. As just now we understood, it goes to FFH. Initial count is FFH. So the clock pulse appears. It will reset back to initial count, which is happens to be the same thing. That is FFH, like this. Okay, fine. So initial value can be anywhere between 00 to FFH. That is loaded to the upper byte of the timer. This upper byte of the timer, is loaded with the initial count, which is copied into the lower byte of the timer. That is, for example, if you are using timer 0, it will be copied from TH0 to TL0. Okay. The timer, okay. After copy, what does the microcontroller does this? It will copy the upper byte of the timer, the content of upper byte of the timer to lower byte of the timer. It will start the uh, time. Once we start when the programmer starts the timer, the lower byte of the timer starts counting the clock pulse. Okay, how to start the timer? This is using this instruction. This we have seen earlier. For timer 0, set B TR0. For timer 1, set B TR1. Okay, so after once the timer starts, the lower byte of the timer is counting the clock, not the upper byte of the timer. Upper byte of the timer is holding only the initial value. It is not counting the clock pulse. Okay, so it starts. There is lower byte of the timer starts counting the clock pulse. Okay, because in 8051 based microcontroller, the count is always in the upward direction. There is, for example, if you load 00, it will always count in the upward direction. It doesn't happen like you load FF and it decrements. No. Okay, in the 8051 based microcontroller, it is always a increment based counter. They are all called as increment based counter because, but in some other microcontrollers we find a decremental counter also. Okay, that is you load some initial value. For example, it is a 2BH. Initial count is 2BH. On the application of clock pulse, the count decreases. It does not increase instead of increasing. Okay, it depends on the microcontroller. Okay, yeah. So okay, so it starts counting the clock pulse. The count will go up to FFH, and the application of next clock pulse, the count will reset to 00. Okay, FF to 00, the flag is set to 1. Yes, I'm sorry, I'll make a correction here. So in the earlier, okay, in the earlier I said that the lower byte of the timer will never reach 0. Sorry, it will reset to 0 on the application of clock pulse when the count is FFH. Okay, on the application of next clock pulse, the initial count will be copied to the lower byte of the timer. Sorry, so please make this correction. So it always rolls over to 00H, just like mode 0 as well as mode 1 operation. The counter will reset to 00. But in the other modes of operation, what is the difference is that if you continue to apply the clock pulse, let us say, for example, let me take this page. Okay, so for example, in mode 0 or mode 1 operation, for example, in mode 1 operation, when it reaches FFH, no matter what is the initial count, let us say, for example, initial count is 1111H, for example. So when it reaches FFH on the application of clock pulse, it will reset to 0000. Next clock pulse, the count increments. It continues to count in mode 0 or mode 1 operation. In mode 2 operation, let us say, for example, initial count is 2BH, for example. Okay, application of clock pulse, count increases. it will reach FFH. On the application of clock pulse, the count becomes 0, 0. On the application of next clock pulse, it starts with the initial count 2BH. We need not do this. The microcontroller will automatically copy this. Whereas for mode 0 or mode 1 operation, if you want to start with the initial count, for example, to say once it reaches 0, 0, 0, 0, I don't want to continue the count with 1. I want the initial count to be copied. That is 1, 1, 1, 1. I want the timers to start with the initial count. This copying of the initial count that programmer has to do using the instruction. But in mode 2 operation, microcontroller will automatically copy the content of upper byte, which holds the initial count, to the lower byte of the timer, from where the count continues. This will be done automatically by the microcontroller. That's why it is called as a 8-bit auto reload mode. That's why it is called as a 8-bit auto reload. Auto reload means what is being reloaded. Upper byte of the timer will be copied into the lower byte of the timer automatically whenever the timer overflows. Overflow condition is always from FF to 0, 0. Okay, for all modes of operation. So please make that correction. Yeah, here we go. So automatically, okay, when it rolls over, flag is set to 1, overflow flag is set to 1. TL is reloaded with the initial value which is available in the upper byte of the timer automatically. Okay, once the timer overflows. Yeah, that's all. This we have understood. Okay, so to repeat the process, let us say I want to repeat this operation continuously. So before we continue, what is important is this overflow flag should be reset to 0. Okay, without any need by the programmer to reload the original value. Initial count will be automatically reloaded by the microcontroller. That we need not bother. But this we have to clear. This manually we have to clear. That is overflow flag. If you want to stop, we can stop the timer also. That's also possible. Okay. So this makes mode 2 an auto reload mode in comparison to mode 1 or mode 0 operation. In which case we have to programmer has to manually load the initial value to the timer. So that there is an additional process in case of a mode 0 or mode 1 operation. Okay, what are the steps? So this is the procedure what we discussed. So now the steps in programming the mode 2 operation using to generate the delay, of course. First, we have to load value to TMOD register to select timer and mode of operation, because the TMOD register is a timer mode register which will select timer and mode of operation. Okay, so we are selecting timer 0. We can select either timer 0 or timer 1 in mode 2 operation. So next step is load initial count to the timer, upper byte of the timer. Okay. Next step is start the timer. Whenever the timer is started, what does the microcontroller does is it will copy the upper byte into the lower byte, and the lower byte of the timer starts counting the clock pulse. It will start counting the clock pulse. Okay. So when it reaches the final count, the overflow flag is set to 1. So we keep wait till the overflow flag is set to 1. Once the overflow flag is set to 1, come out of the loop. Okay, come out of the loop and do the next operation. So next operation is we may stop the timer, that is explained here. Okay, so next step is we may stop that. We have to clear the flag. This is very important. This is a must. This is a mandatory operation in all the mode of operation. We can also stop the timer if it is required. If we don't require any timer operation, we can stop it. Okay, go back to step 4 and continue. Step 4 is this operation, because we need not load the initial count, because in all our other mode of operation we have to go back to step 2. After this we have to go back to step 2. Not after this, sorry. After this we have to go back to step 2 in mode 0 and mode 1 operation. But in mode 2 operation we can go back to step 4. You need not say timer. We need not start the timer by. We didn't stop the timer first of all, one thing, because it continuously counts. It takes initial count automatically. It continue with the count. We need not bother about the initial count. But for other modes of operation, we have to stop the timer by, because since once it reaches the final count of 0, 0, FFFH, on the application of next clock pulse, the timer overflows to 0, 0. At this point, in mode 1 and mode 0 operation, if we don't stop the timer continue to count the clock pulse. So thereby better to stop the timer whenever the overflow flag is set to 1. Whenever the overflow flag is set to 1, stop the timer, then load the initial count. Load initial count. For in this case, the initial count is 1111. Load the initial count and continue the operation. Okay, so this is important in case of a mode 0 as well as mode 1 operation. Let us look into the program, and thereby let us understand how the mode 2 operation works. The basic intention of mode 2 operation is again to generate the delay. Okay, let us take the okay, fine. Yes, I'll modify the same program. Yes, in fact, I think in the beginning I told I got the this 5A 5B program ready. I'm testing 5B program. 5A program is perfectly okay. I'm checking the 5B program. In fact, you can see that in the compiler itself. I'll make this down, so I'll copy this program. It's not necessary, but it's still okay. So 5A is ready. 5A program is working fine. Sometimes in the next class I'll discuss this 5A program, and I'll discuss 5B also. 5B is actually program is ready, but it needs some optimization because it has not many lines. So I'll optimize this and then I'll discuss possibly in the next class. Okay. Yeah. So let us write the program for mode 2 operation. First step is always set the value for the tmod register to select timer in mode 2 operation. Okay, fine. So tmod register. Okay. So in this case for a change, the author has selected timer 1 in mode 2 operation. Okay. So it is 20H. Why it is 20H? It's again this is sorry, not here. Let's go to the compiler. Okay, so here I got a sufficient space. Yeah, here we go. So tmod register. For tmod register, the bits of a tmod register is gate bit CT bar M1 M0. Similarly, gate CT bar M1 M0. These are the bits of the tmod register. Okay, let us say I want to select timer 1 in mode 2. Okay, so this is gate bit is 0 because most of the time we are going to control the on and off of the timer using programming method. I'm using the timer, and then this should be 0. For a counter, this bit will be 1. So this we'll discuss when we discuss the counter programming. Okay, mode 1 M1 M0 bit. This is the mode select bit. For mode 2 operation, the M1 M0 bit should be 1 and 0. 1 and 0, correct? Mode 2 operation. What about, okay, I'm using only timer 1, I'm not using timer 0, and hence these bits are 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so what is the content of mode tmod register is the value to be loaded to tmod register to select timer 1 in mode 2 operation. It is 20H. It is 20H. Okay, but if you observe this lower byte of the lower 4 bits of the tmod register, it looks like we have selected timer 0 in mode 0 operation. That's true. That's true. But in the program, we are going to start only the timer 1, set BTR1. We are not starting the timer 0. So it doesn't matter. So it doesn't affect much. Okay. So the initial value, tmod value should be 20H. 20H. Okay, fine. So to observe the output, we have to select one, the particular, one bit. Let us look into that. First, we have to load the initial value to the timer. Okay. So initial value to the timer can be anything other than, it can be 0 also, no problem. Okay. Move TH1. We have to use TH1 for timer 1. If you use TH0, it doesn't work. Move TH1, comma, hash. I'll take one lesser value so that we can run stepwise and we can observe. Okay. I'll take it as 0 F AH so that we can run faster. Okay. Okay. So initial value is loaded to the timer. We have to start the timer. So next is set B TR1. Start the timer. Once the timer is started, we have to keep on monitoring the flag. That can be done using JNB, JNB plot bit, TF1 because it is timer 1, TF1 dollar. That is, it will execute the same line till this condition is satisfied. Let us call it as a repeat. We can give any number, no problem. Okay. Once the overflow flag is set to 1, it will come out of the loop. Okay. And first thing is we have to clear the flag. Of course, in this case, the author has complemented the bit. We can do this also. That will not affect much, but it's always a good practice to first clear the overflow flag. Okay. So this is just a matter of practice. Clear the overflow flag. There is CLR PF1. PF1. Next is complement the bit. Let us take P1.5. You can take any of it, no problem. P1.5, no problem. Okay. So once the timer overflows, they're stopping the timer and they're complementing the P1.5 so that we can generate a clock pulse. So that we can observe the delay. Okay. So that's a basic intention. After this, we have to repeat this so that we should get a continuous clock pulses. So for that, what we can do is we can repeat this operation. Is from where? There is a question. Okay, if you observe this, in a mode 1 or mode 0 operation, what we used to do is we used to go back here because we used to load initial value. That is not necessary. Even starting the timer is also not necessary. We can go back here. Okay, there is the instruction is repeat. The line is repeat. Okay, short jump to repeat. Very simple program. Just 4 lines of program for mode 2 operation. Yes, I think the program is clear, right? I mean, select timer 1 in mode 2 operation. Initial value to the timer. Okay, and start the timer. Start timer 1. Wait till the flag is set to 1. Once the flag is set to 1, clear the flag. Complement the bit. Very simple. Very simple. Okay. Repeat the operation. Next step is repeat the operation. Very simple. Let us run the program. Save the file. Check. Oh, okay. Yes, yesterday I was checking with the 5B. I'll remove this. Remove the file. Okay. So that yes. Okay. So let us add the add existing file. So the program is a sample. Type it will appear if it is in the same folder. Sample.asm. Add to the folder. Add to the project window. To save the program. Check for syntax error. If everything is okay, errors are 0. Debug start session. Okay, fine. So what are the things we have to observe is that just I'll move this down. We don't require any memory window for this program. So what we want is the logic analyzer window. Okay, and we have to observe the observe the program, of course. Stepwise execution we have to observe. Let us observe that also, and we have to see the timer window. Memory, not memory windows. It is serial window, timer window, logic analyzer. Okay, watch windows. Not this. Sorry, peripherals. I'm sorry. It is peripherals. Timers. Go to. I'm using timer 1. Okay, here we go. Timer 1. So let us observe this program now. Okay. I guess meantime, I think I have not taken the attendance. Hold on a second. Yes, hold on a second. This is. Hold on a second. Sorry, okay. So this is. Okay, fine. Okay. Let us run the program again. Stepwise execution. F11 on my keyboard. So first is tmod register. It will set. This did observe case. Once the first line is executed, the timer selected is mode 2 operation, 8-bit auto reload mode. Okay, so tmod value becomes 20H. Okay, so next step execution. Initial value is loaded to the upper byte of the timer. So TH1 is set to. You can observe that TH1 is set to FAH. Okay. Next is start the timer. F11 on my keyboard. Start the timer. Once the timer starts, please observe this. Okay, initially the count. What is the initial content of timer, guys? Initially it was like this. Okay, let me write the timer block only so that we'll understand that in terms of timers. Okay, so this is, let us say, timer one. Timer one consists of two parts, that is TH1 and TL1. Initially, the initial value is loaded to upper byte of the timer. In my case, it is F4. What is the value? Is FAH. FAH. Okay. Initial value was still 00. Sorry, lower byte of the timer is still 00. Once the timer is started, what does the microcontroller does is, it will start with 00 only. Why? Because initial value is loaded was 00 by default. Okay, so that's why we see that the count starts with 00. You can see, observe that in this TL1, the count starts with 00. F11 on my keyboard, the count increments. Okay, so this goes up to FFH. Why? Because initial value was 00, it goes up to FFH. Till it reaches FFH, it will execute the same line. It will execute the same line. So F11 on my keyboard, you can observe this TL1 area, guys. This TL1 window, it is executing. It is counting the clock pulse. So till it reaches FFH, we have to wait. Okay. So once it reaches, since it's only 8-bit, it doesn't take much time. Okay, now FB, FD, FF. Okay, that's now. So it has reached the final count. On the application of next clock pulse, observe this area, guys. The count becomes 00. Actually, that we missed. Actually, it is jumping by two values. The count reached FFH. Okay. Application of clock pulse, the count next clock pulse, the count became 00H. Next clock pulse, it is same. Once F11 it is taking two clock pulse, then it is reset initial value of FAH. Okay. Next clock pulse, it has counted one more clock pulse, it is FBH. Okay, that's why you see FBH now. Okay, but once this happens, observe that the overflow flag is set to 1. TF1 is already set to 1. Continue the execution of the program, F11 on my keyboard. In the next step, once the overflow flag is set to 1, the compiler will come out of the program. Next step is the overflow flag should be reset to 0. This overflow flag should be reset to 0. Okay, sorry, F11 on my keyboard, overflow flag is reset to 0. Okay, yes. So P1.5 is complemented. So you can observe this waveform. Initially it is high. Now when this line is executed, this P1.5 becomes 0. Okay, so let F11 on my keyboard, P1.5. Of course, we can't observe that now. In fact, you can see that here. You can see that this if P1.5 is reset to 0. Okay, and this operation is continued. So F11 on my keyboard. So it is jump repeat. Okay, it will go back to repeat. Since timer 1 bit is already set to 1, it will continue the counting of clock pulse from the initial count of FAH, and this operation repeats. F11 on my keyboard, this operation repeats like this. Okay, so observe this waveform, guys. Observe this waveform. This is very, very important. Okay, so initially in this duration, okay, let me zoom out so that we can see the complete waveform. Initially, TL1 was equal to 00. TL1 was equal to 00. On the application of clock pulse, the count increased and it reached the final count of FFH. And when it reached final count of FFH, it was reset to 00. From that, it is reset to initial value which was available in TH1, which was equal to FAH. It is FAH. Okay. Once this reset, once the overflow flag is set to 1, when the timer is overflown, the reset of the flag is set to 1. That is TF1 was set to 1. After that, the P1.5 is complemented. Okay, P1.5 is complemented. Okay, so P1.5 now becomes from initially it was high, it reset to 0. Now the timer now starts with the initial count of FAH. It continued to count the clock pulse. The time required to count the clock pulse from initial count of 00 to FF is more than the time required to count the clock pulse with initial count of FA to FFH. Okay, so thereby, if you observe this waveform, waveform, this delay is more than this delay. Why? Because in this case, the initial count was TL0 was equal to 0, 0. But in this case, the initial count was TL0 was equal to FAH. It was equal to FAH. That's what it is. Okay. So you can run for a few more cycles and we can observe, that the timer runs, it generates a clock pulses. So we can measure the time period of the clock pulse. Just for our understanding purpose, zoom in so that we can observe some particular point, zoom in, and we can measure the delay generated by the timer. Okay, this point to this point, somewhere around this point, it is around what is the delay is 6.5 microsecond approximately. So this delay is around 6.5 microseconds. 6.5 microseconds. Is it correct? Let us check. Okay, quickly. Okay. Yes. So by the way, before this, we should make sure that that clock frequency is 11.059 megahertz. I didn't check it. Let me go back and run the program again. This is the program. Save the file. Check for syntax error. First step is always frequency should be it's already 11.059 megahertz, no problem. Debug start session. I'll run the program so that we can generate the clock pulse and we can count the delay generated by the timer. Okay. So let us stop the running session. Zoom on somewhere here. Zoom in. Okay, so that we can observe the waveform. Okay. Yes. Now initial count was FFH. Sorry, FAH. Initial count is FAH. Okay. How to find out the delay generated by the timer in mode 2 operation? Okay. In mode 2 operation, of course, this we have discussed. In the earlier case, there is using both the hexadecimal method as well as decimal method. Okay. In hexadecimal method, what happens is it is FF minus FA plus 1 into time period of one machine cycle. Time period of one machine cycle, which is equal to 1.085 microseconds for a frequency of for oscillatory frequency of 11.0592 megahertz. Okay, fine. Now, for in a decimal method, what we have to do is we have to do convert this FA into decimal value, equivalent decimal value. So there is 256 minus that decimal value. Let's say it is AB. That will give some a number of clock pulse content that into time period of one machine cycle. Okay, fine. So that is a procedure. Let us follow the this what do you call it, hexadecimal method. It's quite simple and it will give straight away. So that's that one. So you can do hexadecimal method also, no problem. Okay. So it is FF minus FA plus 1. Okay. So it is as good as saying actually FF minus FB. That's also okay. Into 1.085 microseconds. 0.85 microseconds. Okay. Fine. Okay, so let's look into the value base. I'll have the calculator. Okay, just a second, and let me check using your. Okay. Okay. Yes, sir. Let me open the calculator. In the calculator, we can find out the value. And then, yeah. I didn't get the scientific calculator. Okay, no problem. Okay. So this is we are doing the hexadecimal subtraction. FF minus FF minus FA. Okay, no, sorry, from this programming, not programming, not graph, sorry, scientific calculator. Sorry. So this is a standard calculator. Okay, in this programmer only we have to do this. Okay, so we have to select okay, so FF minus FA plus 1 plus 1. Okay, yes, so it is 6. That means it has counted 6 number of clock pulses. In terms of microseconds, go to the standard calculator. It is 6 into 1.085 microseconds. Into 10 power 1. I think it's not possible here. Let me check it in my calculator. In this calculator, it is not possible. Just a second. Let's hold on. So give me a minute. So it is 6, no? 6 into approximately 6 microsecond actually. It's not more than that, but we can accurately check it by considering the 1.0 that fraction also 1.085 microseconds, no, into 10 power 6. That's micro minus 6. 10 here we have micro 0.5 microseconds, no. Okay, so what is the value is? It is equal to, so theoretical value should be 6.51 microseconds, slightly greater than 6 microseconds, approximately 6 microsecond. Okay, so the practical, actual value is 6.51 microsecond. Let us count the delay generated by the timer. Okay, zoom in so that we can measure accurately if possible somewhere here. Okay, fine. So let us okay, measure from this end to this end. Let us take from this end. This is around. We have to place it properly. No, this better proper closure will give a better value. It is around 6.51 microsecond, close to that. Close to that, 6. I didn't notice the actual value is 6. In calculator I'm getting 6.51. Here I'm getting a better precision, 6.510 microseconds approximately. This time period is now 6.51 microseconds. Okay, so that's how we can generate the delay using mode 2 operation. Yes, understood this. You have to write the program in mode 2 operation. It is a 8-bit auto reload mode. So it is advantage is, we can skip 2 steps of the mode 0 and mode 1 operations. So the operation of the timer becomes faster. Okay, in this case the author has taken some value 5, and hence the delay generated is bigger. Okay, fine. Yes, what is the maximum delay we can generate using the mode 2 operation is? In mode 2 operation, it is when the initial value is 0 0, ff minus 0 0. Okay, so then plus 1, of course, that gives the largest possible delay. Okay, into 1.085 microseconds. Okay, yes, just a second. So this should be FE. Okay, fine, no problem. We can approximate that to 256, no problem. That is 256 into 1.085 microseconds. Okay, so this will be this I'll approximate it to FF, guys. There is 250. It will not matter much. Just one clock pulse is around 1 microsecond, no problem. Okay, 256 into 1.085 microseconds. This will give, that means maximum delay that we can generate using mode 2 operation is that it is sorry. Which one I press? Okay, it is around, in terms of milliseconds. Sir, in terms of microseconds, it is 277.76 microseconds. 277.76 microseconds. In terms of millisecond, you can approximate it as 0.27 milliseconds in terms of milliseconds. Okay, fine. So thereby, if we want to calculate larger delay larger than 277 micro, let us approximate it as 277.77 microseconds. This is the maximum delay generated using mode 2 operation. If you want to generate a delay bigger than this, bigger delay than this, then what is the procedure is? We have to repeat the delay subroutine multiple times so that we can generate required amount of delay. Let us say, for example, I need to generate 500 millisecond delay, for example, 500 millisecond delay I need to generate. Okay, in mode 2 operation, but in mode 2 maximum delay I can generate is approximately 277 millisecond delay. That means I need to repeat the delay subroutine a number of times, which is equal to 500 millisecond delay divided by 277.76 microsecond, which is approximately equal to Just give me a second. And 500 millisecond divided by I'll take it as okay 277.7 microseconds. It is approximately um, we need to repeat the this is 1/8 number of clock pulses to be counted is into 1.8k 1.8 thousand 1.8 into 10 power 3 that is 1800. Okay. Okay, so it's around 1800 number of clock pulses we have to count. Okay, that means 1800 clock pulses we have to count in mode 2 operation to generate a delay of 500 millisecond. Let's imagine what about 1 second? Definitely it is a bigger delay, bigger number of clock pulses we have to count. For example, let me check for 1 second. Is a very huge value, no? I mean, let me check for 1 second. It is approximately this is oh my god 30 mm, 1 second it is 3.6 oh this is a bigger value, just a second. Yes, okay. 3600. Okay, so for double this, correct. Find sorry 500 millisecond is half of 1 second, so it should be double of this. That is 3600 601 approximately, because in the calculator I'm getting precision as 3.601 second. There is count 3.601 into 10 power 3. There is 3601 number of clock pulses. Clock pulses we have to count. Okay, so that means we have to count more clock pulses if you want to generate bigger delay using mode 2 operation. That's why in most of the operations, until and unless auto reload function is required, programmer will make use of either mode 1 or mode 0 operation rather than mode 2 operation, because the delay generated is very, very small. Okay, so one more program with to generate square wave with a particular frequency. Okay, because this also actually we discussed for mode 1 operation, the same procedure here. There is, let us say, frequency will be given. Let us say frequency is 10 hertz, for example. Okay, frequency to be generated is 10 hertz on E1.5, for example. Okay, so frequency is 10 hertz. What is time period? Time period is equal to 1 by 10 hertz. Okay, it is 0.1 seconds. 0.1 seconds. So we need to generate 0.1 seconds. Okay, so we can select mode 1. Depends on the program. If it is in the program, sometimes we specify which mode of operation to make use of. Either you have to make use of mode 1 or mode 0 or mode 2 operation. Either one of them, mode 2 operation. For most of the cases, for a larger delay, always mode 1 is preferred. Okay, so for mode 1 operation, what we have to do? We have to divide this. Okay, here's one more thing. This is the time period of the complete cycle. That is, this is the time period of the complete cycle, like this. This is the time period of complete cycle. That is around 0.1 second. This is around 0.1 second. What we generate using the timer is only the on period or the off period. What we have to generate is only this on period or the off period. On period or the off period. Okay. So what is off of this? Off of this, it is 0.05 microseconds. 0.05 seconds. Sorry, 0.05 seconds. This is 500 milliseconds. In other words, okay, 0.05 seconds. 0.05 seconds. Okay, that means delay to be generated is 0.05 seconds. 0.05 seconds. Okay, not 0.1 second. If you calculate for 0.1 second, gone. The 0.1 second indicates that is one off period is 0.1 seconds. One off period is delay is not 0.1 second. Delay is actually off of that. That is 0.05 seconds. Okay, so for this delay, we have to calculate the value to be loaded to the timer. Okay, how to calculate the value to be loaded to the timer? For example, mode 1, 0.05 seconds to be generated. 0.05 seconds divided by maximum delay that can be generated using mode 1 operation, that is 71.1 millisecond delay. We'll get number of clock pulses to be counted. From that, we can find out the initial value to be loaded to the timer. Initial count to be loaded to the timer. In mode 2 operation, divide 0.05 seconds using divide by 277.7 microseconds, that will give n number of clock pulses. So from that, find out the initial value to be initial count to be loaded to upper byte of the timer. Initial count to be loaded to upper byte of the timer. Okay. Yes. So an example is given here. Okay. Yeah. So this is not okay. I'm not. This, let us not look into the program. Initial value. Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. There's one more point. Okay. This it's already 12. Yes, 2 more minutes. Last 2 minutes. Okay. With this slide I'll wind up. Okay. Let us say, for example, we are using timer, any timer of operation, any mode of operation, especially timer timer in mode operation, especially. Okay. How to calculate the value to be loaded to the timer, guys? To calculate the value to be loaded to the timer, we used to follow hexadecimal method or the decimal method. Okay, correct. For example, number of clock pulses to be counted is, for example, to say 100. For example, 100. Okay, 100 number of clock pulses to be counted. What we used to do is in decimal method. For example, in mode 1 operation, 65,536 minus 100 into 1.085 microseconds. Okay, sorry, this is clock pulses to be counted, no? Okay, so for clock pulses to be counted, we have to. Okay, this is correct. This is okay. This is correct. 1.085 microseconds. This will give the delay generated. This will give the delay generated by the timer. For mode operation, what we do is 256 minus 100 number of clock pulses to be counted. The delay will be into 1.085 microseconds. In hexadecimal method, first we have to convert this 100 into hexadecimal, and we have to subtract from FF for this mode 1 operation, minus this whatever we get, let's say for example ABCD plus 1 into 1.085 microseconds. Okay, fine. In mode 2 operation, instead of this, what we can do is, if number of clock pulses to be counted is known, instead of using all those procedure, we can directly load this number of clock pulses to be counted to the timer in the program. How to do that is, for example, let us say for example, we need to count the initial value. For example, sorry, not initial value. We need to count, let us say for example, 3 clock pulses. 3 clock pulses. For example, I'll take this example. Let us say for example, we need to generate 3 microsecond delay. I'll take this example. Let us say I need to generate 3 microsecond delay. I'm using mode 2 operation. Okay. So the number of clock pulses to be counted is, sorry. Okay. So number of clock. How do we find out the number of clock pulses? How do we find out initial count? For initial count, what we have to do is, FF in mode 2 operation, FF minus 3. Okay. Because hexadecimal equivalent of 3 is also 3. Okay. This will give F. What this value will be, guys? FF what is it? Okay, it's one just a minute. FF, it will be FCH, I think. FCH. Okay, FCH. So this we can load into the upper byte of the timer. Instead of this, we can load 3 directly to the program by using a minus symbol. Okay. So instead of loading, see what should have been done is move TH1 comma hash 0 FCH. This was we used to do in mode 0, mode 1 operation. In mode 2 operation only, not in mode 1 operation, only in mode 2 operation. If number of clock pulses to be counted is known, we can enter it as minus 3. Number of clock pulses minus number of clock pulses. If it is 3 number of clock pulses, minus 3. What does the compiler does is, internally, whenever negative number is specified, minus is specified, it will convert this minus into its hexadecimal value. For example, yes, I'll take this calculator. Yes, give me a minute, guys. I think understand I'm running out of I'm very close to the. Okay, so I'll go to this this programmer mode. I'll select hexadecimal. I'll select minus 3, guys. In hexadecimal mode, I select minus 3. When I select minus 3, what is the value we get is FD. FD. In fact, it is actually FD. I made a mistake here. It should be FDH. FDH. Okay. So from this we understand that -3 in decimal corresponds to FD in hexadecimal. Okay. So if this FD becomes the initial count for the mode 2 operation. FD becomes the initial count for the mode 2 operation. Okay. Like this, there are some examples you can see. For example, we say if 212 clock pulses to be counted, we can represent it as -12. Very simple. To the timer, upper bit of the timer, it will automatically take, it will automatically take what is the value is F4H in the upper bit of the timer. For example, 200 clock pulses to be counted, -200 will automatically take 338H into the upper bit of the timer. This we cannot do for the mode 1 operation. Why? Because let us say in mode 1 operation we have to count 10,000 clock pulses, for example. 10,000 clock pulses. We cannot load mode T1, for example, mode upper weight of the timer, for example TH1, because in timer we cannot load T1. We have to load TH1 or TL1. For each TH1, TL1, the data should be 8-bit. It cannot be bigger than 8-bit. It cannot be bigger than 8-bit. Okay. So thereby, this is one's complement method of entering initial value to the timer. This is possible only for mode 2 operation, not for any other mode of operation. Okay, that's it, guys. Okay, yeah, this we can do it in the comparison in the next class. Let us say, no problem. Okay, yes, fine. Thank you. Thanks for joining. See you in the next class. Take care. Bye.